So 2 days ago, I did a stream where every single time I died as Tainted Lost, I would shock myself with a shock collar. In that live stream, I shocked myself, I think, 4 times. And after the first time, I had a really bad stomach ache. Just thought it was a stomach ache because, I shocked myself. I think I even said in the stream that my muscles contracted, and it's just the stomach ache's just a minor result of the shock. No big deal. The shocks actually didn't hurt that bad. So after that stream, though, I was like, well, my stomach still hurts, so I'm just gonna lay down, watch some TV all night or whatever. Just take it easy. So I do that. I order some Subway, pick it up at my door. I ain't trying to make any food. Just want to be lazy. At one point, I stand up, get really dizzy, I sit back down. But after that, it's fine. Just kind of a stomach ache. I ate that Subway sandwich like nobody's business. I feel like I never ate before eating that sandwich. So, I end up going to bed. I wake up, and usually I'm starving when I wake up. Well, sometimes anyway. So I got 2 sandwiches. I got a wrap. So I ate the wrap for breakfast. My stomach feels fine until I eat the wrap. And then my stomach hurts again like it did the day before. And then so I'm just like, yeah, it hurts because I shocked myself. That's it. But as time goes on, I have no appetite throughout the entire day, which is odd because usually I eat more than I should and I'm hungrier than I need to be. So usually I have an insane appetite throughout the day, but no appetite, stomach hurts, not feeling good. Shortness of breath as well. It's nothing too bad. If I didn't shock myself, I'd be like, oh, just have a stomach ache, whatever. So, I start to Google some stuff. Before I did the shock collar, I did Google, repercussions of shocking yourself with a dog collar. And everything was like, you shouldn't do it, but you can get away with it. You can shock yourself. You just shouldn't. So I was like, okay, I will. That was my initial research. But now, why is my neck so red? I don't know where that came from. Anyway, so now that I'm having these stomach issues, I Google electric shock stomach ache, because that's kind of what's happening right now. So, if you Google shock collar reaction, you're fine. If you Google electric shock repercussions, you have a hole in your intestines and you're about to die. That's what Google says anyway. It says to go to the walk-in care, ER, whatever, as soon as possible. So I'm like, fuck. I really think I'm fine. I really think it's a stomach ache. But if I have a hole in my intestines, I want to know ASAP. So, it's 6 p.m. yesterday. I go into the walk-in care. And here's where I'm going to interrupt the story real quick. I want you all to know that I am okay. Everything's fine. And I know a few people, more than a few people, told me to not shock myself. Y'all warned me. I want to say, if you're one of those people, don't go in the comments saying I told you so. I told you so. Listen to the end of the video, and so you know everything. Because as it stands right now, I regret nothing from that stream. It was a very funny stream. I had a really good time. And just stay tuned for the story if you want to know about it. And if you don't care about that specifically, just stay tuned for the story to hear some a tale of the terrible American healthcare system that we have. Because do I have a story for you with a lot of questionable decisions? First questionable decision was going to the walk-in care with a stomach ache. So, 6 p.m. I drive to the walk-in care, which is not very far from my house. I walk in the door. It's still COVID precautions, so I have my mask on. And she goes, she's asking the COVID questions. She's like, do you have this, that, any shortness of breath? I do have shortness of breath. However, my shortness of breath is because I shocked myself the day before. It wasn't anything too bad. And then, so she goes, okay, here's a number to call. Go back into your car. Call that number to sign in to register with a hospital. So I go and do that because I have shortness of breath. Not COVID, obviously. So I call them, and I put my information in. We're good to go. They're going to call me back when they have a room available. So they call me back when they have a room available. They ask me a couple more questions. And while I'm on the phone, she was like, oh, okay, well, how'd you shock yourself? And I go, with a dog collar. And then she's like, oh, okay. So, blah, blah, blah. She tells me how to get into my room. So then I go into the walk-in care. The girl at the door stops me. She was like, do you know where you're going? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the room. So she gives me the instructions again. A little redundant, but no big deal. And then so I start walking towards the room, walking past the receptionist, not caring because I was told where to go twice now. They stop me. They look worried. They look like I'm a homeless guy walking in. They're like, hey, sir, do you know where you're going? And I go, yeah, I'm going to this room over here. They're like, oh, yeah, that's how you get there. So I'm told 3 times how to get to the room. No big deal, really. So I get to the place where I'm going to meet the girl to let me into my room, the nurse. I'm meeting the nurse at a door. So she brings me into my room. And she's like, because you have COVID symptoms, shortness of breath, we have to be take precautions. So I'll be right back. I'm like, okay. So she leaves me in my room for a minute. She comes back in what looks like a literal hazmat suit. She's just covered in a new suit of just like really thin cloth. And then when she opens the door, I literally go, whoa. Maybe it was a little rude, but I literally just go, whoa. She's like, yeah. I was like, you're in a hazmat suit. So now she's, doing the nurse stuff. She's checking my heartbeat, all that good stuff, the blood pressure. And as we're doing it, we're making small talk. And keep in mind, this nurse is probably the same age I am, more or less. I'm about 24. She looked pretty young. It's crazy, by the way, that people my age are like medical professionals. I'm making YouTube videos. It's insane. Hats off to them. But so she's making small talk, and she's like, so how'd you shock yourself with the dog collar? And at this point, I'm like, oh, God, I have to tell the story, huh? Because if you're a YouTuber, you don't go around telling people you're a YouTuber. It's just kind of weird. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I make videos online. It sounds cool to some people, but some people literally just don't care or they don't get it. So it's always awkward to talk about. Even if they think it's cool, it's still kind of awkward because it's not a very conventional job. So I hate bringing it up. I don't bring it up often for a reason. So, she says, how did you shock yourself? And I go, this is literally what I say. I say, I don't know if this is going to make it better or worse, but I was shocking myself for my YouTube channel. And she laughs and she goes, no, that makes it better. And I was like, whew, good to know. So then she asked me, she's like, well, did the stream do well? And I was like, yeah, the stream did pretty well. I was pretty happy with it. It was a fun stream. Had a lot of people there. And then, she checks my vitals. She continues to check the vitals. And she's like, all right, we're going to send in the next nurse. I thought it was going to be like the doctor, but there's all nurses at the walk-in care. I found that out later. But so she sends in the next nurse to do more checks, whatever. So the second nurse comes in. She's checking me up, pretty much same kind of stuff. And she asked me, well, no, she doesn't ask me. She says, so I heard you shocked yourself for a YouTube video. And I was like, it was a live stream, but yeah. I was like, why are they talking to each other about that? Like, I know nurses will talk to each other, like, if they need to know that I shocked myself in general. But you didn't have to bring up the YouTube thing. Not everybody needs to know. But she does know. So I say, yeah, it was for a live stream. And then she asks, did it do well? And I'm like, yeah, it did pretty well. Same conversation, same thing. So she's, she checks everything and she's like, I think you're fine. I think you just have a stomach ache because you shocked yourself. Nothing more than that. And I was like, fuck. I thought the same thing. So I'm kind of sitting there feeling like a dummy because it's obvious. Don't shock yourself with a dog collar. You get a stomach ache. Or you could get a stomach ache, whatever. I just wanted to be safe over sorry. So I'm sitting there kind of feeling like a dummy. And then I'm just talking to her for a minute. And then eventually she's like, all right, I'll be right back. We'll get you on your way soon. I'm like, all right. So she comes back. She's like, okay, my supervisor says we want to perform an EKG on you just to make sure your heart's fine. An EKG is where they put like little things on you and they monitor your heart rate to make sure your heart is beating normally. So I say, sure. I've had them before. Not even bad. So her supervisor comes in. She doesn't give me any YouTube small talk, thankfully. She gives these little tiny sticky things that they come off so easily. She puts them on my chest and my stomach. A couple of my arms, too. She attaches the wires, then performs the EKG where I just lay there for a minute. And she monitors the heart rate. So then she does that. She leaves. The other nurse comes back, the last one that was in before the supervisor, and she literally says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we found something. And I go, okay. In my head, I'm thinking, but I just say, okay, thank God I came here anyway. And then so she goes to explain to me that what they found was signs that I had a heart attack. You know, you have a heart attack, you mess your heart up pretty bad after that. You can recover, I think, but it's not good. No matter what, you had a heart attack, your heart's not the best after. So they found signs that I had a heart attack before. And then she was like, this is insane. Your heartbeat was fine. Like, dog collar wouldn't do that to you. And I was like, I didn't think so. But regardless, she leaves. No. While she's still there, she's like, so, we have to send you to an ER. We have to. And I'm like, fuck. Well, I just say, okay, but I'm thinking fuck. And then she's like, and I have to recommend we take you by ambulance. And I was like, worried. I was like, does this mean I'm going to die any second? I didn't know what was happening. So then I'm literally pacing in my room because I feel fine, just a stomachache. I'm pacing in my room, just waiting for the ambulance to come. And eventually, the ambulance does come. They have to put me in a stretcher. I don't know why. I've been in ambulances before, but I said, do I need to be in the stretcher? They said, yes. We need to secure you in the ambulance. I've been in an ambulance before, not on a stretcher. I don't think I needed to be in it. I digress. They put a blanket on me. They strap me in. They're pushing me through the hospital to the ambulance. And as we're going to the ambulance, one of them says, there's two guys. One of them says, I heard you shocked yourself with a dog collar for a YouTube video. Why does everyone and their mother need to know? Why is that common knowledge? Isn't that like a privacy thing? Aren't you supposed to just say, yeah, he shocked himself with a dog collar so they know how to treat me? They don't need to know why. They don't need to know the why. They could have just said that at work, because I was working. They could have said he shocked himself with a dog collar at work. They could have thought I worked with the animals or something. That would have been so cool. So I have to have the conversation. I'm like, yeah, it's for live stream. They ask, did it do well? 3 times in a row. I say yes, it did very well. And then so we talk about that for a second. We get into the ambulance. I am now secure in the ambulance, strapped up in my little gurney, whatever it's called. Already forgot. And then so like, all right, we're gonna bring you to the hospital. Obviously, first we're gonna perform another EKG on you. I say, okay. This time, instead of those little easy, rip off things, sticky things, they have these giant circular things that they put on you. I've had those before. They do not come off easily. So, I'm like, great. Later, I'm gonna have to take that off, and with my chest hair, it's gonna hurt. So they perform the second EKG on me. They find nothing wrong with me. At this point, I'm already thinking, I think I'm fine. I think this is a waste of time. I don't say that because they know better than me. They're still going to bring me to the hospital. So one person goes to drive, one person hangs out with me in the back. I think that's how they have to do it. So we're still talking about YouTube, and then they're like, did the shock hurt? And I'm like, it sucked, but it wasn't that bad. Just kind of annoying after. And then he literally hits me with some boomer humor. He goes like, sounds like a red-headed wife. I was just like taken aback. Like, people actually talk like that? I have a literal boomer right next to me. This is so weird. Never had someone just say that to me. They probably thought I was old enough with no hair and all to relate to the boomer humor. I didn't relate to it at all. That was funny though. I laughed. So then he was like, you know what? If you want some more content, surprised he used the word content, being a boomer and all. He was like, if you want some more content, you could rip off those EKG things on for a YouTube video. And I was like, you're right, I could make good content. So instead of removing the little sticky things from my chest, from my hairy chest at any time, as soon as I got home, I decided to rip them off. I don't want to spoil what time I got home, but I was very tired. So here's me ripping off the EKG things. Aha. Ah. Ow. Fuck. Oh. Oh. Oh, wow. Look how much hair is on that. Oh, no. That's like the least hairy one. I hate when I don't go in once. I have to suffer through it multiple times. Ah, fuck, like that. Come on. Oh! Ah, that was even worse. Oh, fuck. Why can't it just come off? Oh, why can't it just come off? Fucking just, oh. Look how much hair comes with that. It's like I'm getting freaking waxed. Look how much more hair is up here. This has to come off somehow. It just has to. My chest is so red right there. Oh my god. There's a little bit of blood actually. You don't get any more used to it. I'm just gonna say that right now, you don't. You wouldn't go with it. Why'd that one hurt the most? There's only 2 left. Come on. Come on! Oh. Last one. Last one. Yep. Has to be at least 2. I already see blood. I already see blood from that one. Fuck. Look how red I am. Dude, it looks like I've been beaten up. Oh my god. So yeah, I'm just riding to the hospital with this guy in the ambulance. And while he's there, I just realized I have a medical professional in my presence. I might as well pick his brain about some medical questions. So on the way to the ambulance, it wasn't a super long ride, but I just asked him a bunch of questions about things I was curious about recently. Nothing crazy, just get some knowledge in the brain real quick. Why not? So, we get there. Every time you go to the hospital, you always end up in by ambulance. You always end up in some like dirty parking garage. It's never fun. So they take me out. I'm still strapped in. They roll me into the ER. Through like a back door, but like towards the entrance, so there's a line of one person getting into the ER. They unstrap me. They bring up a wheelchair. I say, "Do I need to be in a wheelchair? I can walk." The guy goes, like I was making a joke. No, bro, I can walk. I don't need to be in a wheelchair. He doesn't reply. He just laughs. I say in the wheelchair. I comply. I'm not going to argue. But I just felt like I was wasting the resources of like the wheelchair, and this guy's time by pushing me around. So the ambulance guy is pushing me to the little check-in place. There's a kid in front of me. He's also in a wheelchair. He looked like his face was scratched up. He was not feeling good. He was like sobbing. I felt so bad. The parents were checking him in, and at some point, the kid, word for word, goes, "Oh, I'm not feeling good. About to pass out. Mr. Doctor, help me." And I felt like I was watching a movie. That's literally what he said, by the way. Literally. And I felt like I was watching a movie. It was just, I felt so bad. It was so surreal. I was like, I'm sitting here in a wheelchair thinking I'm okay. And I'm watching this kid like about to pass out. And I was like, holy crap. So by the way, the doctors weren't like, "Get him to the ER." They're like, "Okay, we'll take care of you." And they kind of just walk a little faster. Like, I don't think the kid was going to die or anything. I think he was okay. At the end of the day, they didn't seem that worried. Just wasn't feeling good, obviously. So, the ambulance guy pushes me up to the check-in, and he has a clipboard, and she at first asked me, like, "Oh, okay, why are you here?" And then he butts in, because he has to talk for me. He has to mansplain it for me, I guess, though I could have answered the questions just as easily. I actually would have done it better, because I would have not mentioned the fact I shocked myself for a YouTube video, but he did. So now, she goes, "Oh, for a YouTube video, huh?" And she's like way older. I didn't even know if she knew what YouTube was. She's in that category where it's like, does she know what internet is or not? I don't know. She did. She laughed about it, and she had to know, of course. Great. So while he's checking me in, another guy comes. He was like, "All right, I'm going to do a little COVID test real quick." And I was like, ugh, come on. Because I know COVID test to be a huge Q-tip, like straight up your nose. So I think it's going to hurt. So I'm literally like this, like I'm tensed up. You can see my face. I'm like, I don't want this. And so he comes in, he grabs a Q-tip, just goes around each nostril. And I'm like, did you not see my face? Couldn't you said it's okay? I'm not going to go in. I literally said like, what? You don't put it in? He's like, no, we don't do that. I'm like, what? All right. So anyway, I am in the hospital. I'm checked in now. The ambulance guy is wheeling me to the waiting room. I go into the waiting room. It's a hospital waiting room. people are there for a reason. An ER waiting room, I should say. Literally everyone looked like they were in pain. You know, people were in casts, actually needed to be in wheelchairs. People were falling asleep. I did not feel like I belonged. I felt like I was taking advantage of something. It was so weird. I was like, I don't need to be in a wheelchair. I don't know if I even need to be here. I feel like I don't. I felt like I walked into a bar and there's a bunch of tough guys with muscles all looking angry. I walk into the bar and they look at me. That's how I felt. Just so out of place. Bizarre. And as soon as I get there, a nurse walks by this girl in a wheelchair that was like right in front of me. She was an older lady. She actually needed to be in the wheelchair, unlike me. And she goes like, "Did they forget about me?" And I'm like, "Did they forget about me? I don't think they." I didn't reply. But I was thinking, I don't think they forgot about you. But like, what makes you ask that question? I'm concerned. How long am I gonna be here? At this point, probably like 7:30 for me. Entered the walking care at 6. Probably 7:30 now. And then she talks to me. She's like, "I've been here for," and I couldn't hear what she said. I had to ask her like 3 times what she said. I heard I've been here for 2 weeks. That's what I heard. Later, I found out she's been there since like 3 p.m. So she's been there for a while, no matter what. And during the whole thing, she kept trying to talk to me. I literally just couldn't hear her. I would have replied if I could hear her. I couldn't, so I kept going, yeah. I hated it. The whole time I was thinking, like, I need to get out of here. I don't belong. That's how I felt. So, not too much time passed. Maybe 10 minutes at most. A nurse comes out. She says, "Keelvin." I say, "Here," because I'm in a wheelchair. I don't know if I'm allowed to get out. So then she looks at me. She's like, kind of like, "Yeah, you're there. Sure are." Then she realizes I'm in a wheelchair. She's like, "Oh." And then because I look younger, I probably don't look like I need to be in a wheelchair. So then she comes up and wheels me, and as she's walking, comes up to wheel me. And as she's walking, I'm like, I can walk. Do I need to be in a wheelchair? They just put me in here. And she's like, "If you don't need to be in a wheelchair, you're fine." She looked like she was thinking, like, why'd they put you in a wheelchair? But she was already walking there, so she wheels me in. And then as soon as I get in there, there's an awkward pause. And then she's like, if you can walk, you can sit on the bed, right? I'm like, "Yeah." And so I can sit in the bed. She does not ask me about how it happened. She's got some manners. She's a professional, unlike the rest, apparently. So she performs a third EKG on me. This time they have the easily removable things again. I still have the other big things on me. So she does that. And she's like, "All right, you're going to go back to the waiting room." I'm like, "Okay." And then there's a literal brief pause before I even get up. Because there's me, a wheelchair, then her on the other side. And there's a brief pause. Then we kind of look at each other. She's like, if you don't need a wheelchair, you don't need a wheelchair. I'm like, all right. It was so weird. Like, why was I ever in the wheelchair? I don't know. Could have walked. So then I walked to my seat, which is right next to where I originally was in the wheelchair. Right next to the other girl who actually needs to be in the wheelchair. And so the nurse brings my old wheelchair into like a little corral of wheelchairs, like a shopping cart. It was so funny. So then I'm just sitting there for a while, watching people coming and going, just bored out of my mind. The girl in the wheelchair kept trying to talk to me, but I could never hear what she said. So she ended up just talking to the air, and she would just kind of look around, hoping for someone to reply. She was like, "Man, I wish I could go over there." And I was like, "Do you need something?" Or I looked to my side of just like a pamphlet on the coffee table that was next to me. I was like, do you need the pamphlet? Like, do you need something? She's like, "No, I just wish I could see the clock from here." She's kind of like moving her wheels, like, I can't move myself. Like, can someone do it for me? And at this point, by the way, I have an IV in my arm. They put an IV in my arm from the walking care. I didn't have it attached to an IV bag. I just had a needle in my arm this whole time since like 6:30. Felt good. Felt bad, obviously. So I'm there. I'm like, I look at my phone, which is almost dead, by the way. 5% probably. I look at my phone and I go, "Oh yeah, it's like probably 8:30 at this point." And then she's like, "Yeah, I wish I could see the clock though." I do not feel comfortable wheeling this girl around. I've never touched a wheelchair. I don't know where the clock is. I have an IV in my arm. I did not feel comfortable. So it was just awkward. So awkward sitting there for so long. And then eventually they call me in again. And this new guy was like, "Shock yourself for YouTube, huh?" I'm like, why does he know? And why is he telling me this? I don't know. Bro. And then so he literally, just checks my heart rate. And he's like, "So the EKGs in the ambulance and the one you just did here, they're fine. You're good." I'm like, "Okay." Good to know. So my theory of the fact that I'm fine is continuing. And then he explains to me a dog collar wouldn't, affect your heartbeat because it's not strong enough, which is what I thought before everything. So it was true that like the shock collar would not have done that. And both EKGs were fine. He's like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a blood test. And then if the blood test is, we'll do what the blood test says. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's good, it's good. You're good to go. I'm like, all right. So then I go back to wait in the waiting room for a while. And during this, I suddenly feel hungry for the first time that day. Because I only ate a Subway sandwich up to this point. So I felt like, and it was like 9 something, 10 some p.m. It was late. I don't know. My phone was dead. Couldn't check the time without looking behind me. No clocks in the waiting room, by the way. Fix that, please. So suddenly, all at once, the hunger for the day just hit me. I was like, I am starving. I was kind of happy because I was like, is my stomach ache going away? But I was still starving. So I go to the vending machine. I get chips. I get popcorn. I get a Pop-Tart. I get some iced tea. I spent over $5 at that vending machine and I go back to my chair. It was so weird, but I was like, I'm hungry. I'm starving. The highlight of the day was eating that food. I swear to God, though. So then I wait there for a little longer. I'm watching this guy with a freaking tablet who looks like he was healthy, just like complaining to doctors every time they walk past. Like, bro, you are not crying in pain like someone was next to me, actually. That's why eating was so weird, because someone had back pain. They're like, oh, like crying, like literally crying the whole time. I'm not even trying to make fun of them. That's what they were doing. And then this guy, and I'm eating food, and this guy over there has a freaking charged tablet. He looks healthy enough. He's there for a reason, probably, but he looks okay. He kept complaining, like, oh, when they're going to get me in, And it's like, bro, you're probably one of the better off people here. I'll tell you that much right now. And by the way, Top Gun was on the TV. When I first watched the TV, I was watching Tom Cruise shirtless play volleyball. It was a great time. So weird. Everything was just weird. So then, I'm there for so long, and then I think at 11:30 p.m., they called me back in for the blood test. So he does not mention YouTube or anything. He didn't ask me. Professional, love to see it. He first pokes a vein in my right arm, misses, so he has to take it out. Puts a band-aid over it, goes to the other arm, gets the blood that time. So now I have an IV here, a hole right here where they couldn't get blood, and a hole right here where they did get blood. Great. Just wish you could have done the first time. At that point, I was just fed up. I was like, I didn't say anything. I was nice, obviously. But I was just like, I wish you got it the first time. That's all I was thinking. So he's like, all right, you can go back to the waiting room. I was like, so what am I waiting for now? He's like, we're waiting for the results for about 3 hours. Like, okay. Then go sit down, and then it hits me. About 3 hours. I'm going to be here for 3 more hours. It's 11:30 p.m. All right. Sure. Dead phone. Don't want to talk to anyone. No one's there for great conversation, tell you that much. And I'm watching people just come and go. At one point, the wheelchair lady in front of me, she was going to get a room because the hospital was really full. That's why there were so many people in the waiting room. And at one point, she was about to get a room. And then so someone came to tell her that. And she was like, are my bandages on my foot still up? So the person supposed to pull down the sock to see if it is up, and they forgot why they pulled down the sock to begin with. So they're like, so what do you want me to check? She's like, are the bandages still there? And it itches, by the way. And he was like, yeah, the bandages are still there. So the lady just keeps looking, just staring down. And he was like, what do you want me to do? And she was like, well, the foot really itches. And he did not itch the foot. He was like, so what do you want me to do about it? He literally says, so what do you want me to do? He was just not acknowledging the itchy part. It was so funny. She was a pain, is all I'm trying to say. She kept just asking too many questions. It was bizarre. She also kept saying, when am I going to get in? Like the guy on the tablet. It was just like, just wait. You have not been forgotten about, right? You just haven't been. I don't think they're just going to do that. Anyway, so then couple hours passes, I think. It's got to be 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that. I don't remember. So, a new nurse comes out to, she says, Keelvin, that's me. I follow her, and then I get my very own room? I'm like, what? I am, like, fine. I'm not in pain. I'm hungry. My tummy still kind of hurts, actually. Do you see the guys out there in pain? They need a room. I don't. Bizarre to me. Anyway, So it's freezing here now, by the way. The room is freezing. And I'm in flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt. Because it was 70 degrees when I went to the walk-in care. So I dressed for that. I didn't bring a sweatshirt because I thought it was going to be in and out. Alright, so I go in there. She's like, oh, what happened? So I tell her I got shocked by a dog collar. And she wasn't asking me because she needs to know. She's making small talk. She gets my room set up. She puts like the thing on my finger, the blood pressure thing. And she gives me the remote and she leaves. She was kind of just like, oh, okay. She didn't give a shit. I think she wanted to go home. She was just so like, oh, okay, just making small talk to make small talk. And then, so I turn on the TV. I find One Piece. I'm like, all right, things are going a little better. I'm in my blanket, freezing, even with the blanket. It was so thin. Watching One Piece. It was Fishman Island, so it was a little bit of a bust, but I was still watching One Piece. So an episode and a half goes by, and the doctor comes in. First time I think I talked to a doctor the entire time. It was all nurses, which I think is fine. But first time I talked to a doctor. And he goes, how you doing? I'm like, doing. That kind of vibe. And so then he's like, yeah, everything looks fine. And I'm like, your EKGs came back? Okay. The only one that was weird that was in the walking care. And then I was like, what about the blood test? He's like, oh, I forgot to check the blood test. So he's like, oh, I can't even remember. I checked it, but I'll check it again real quick. So he checks it, and then he's like, your blood test is fine. Nothing happened. We did a stomach check, a stomach test. I was like, you did a stomach check? Like, when did you have time to do that? How did you even do that? He was like, yeah, I have a list. I have a list of all the things that are fine. It's just like protein's good, vitamin D, B, whatever the hell. Everything was good. It's a complete breakdown. I'm actually proud of it. I want to read it down. I want to read it for you guys almost. He's like, the only thing that's a little weird is the glucose, but I bet you haven't eaten much today. I'm like, no, I haven't eaten at all, pretty much. And so he's like, yeah, you are perfectly fine. I was like, cool. So, what happened about the original EKG test from the walking care? Why was that weird? He says, oh, the people at the walk-in care, they're all nurses. A lot of them don't know how to read an EKG. So, I say, so the EKG was just misread. And he's like, yeah. I was like, so that's why I've been here for over 7 hours. He literally kind of goes, yeah. I go, that's great. I was so annoyed. And then he goes, I get at least 3 to 5 people a day here because the nurses don't know how to read the EKG. I'm like, good to know they're not trained properly. Love that. So I was there because the nurses misread the heart monitor scan. That's the only reason I was in the ER for that long. I wasted people's time, resources. I'm going to get billed a shit ton for that ambulance ride and everything else too, by the way, because the nurses messed up. Now it's all on me at this point. It's great. Isn't that great? And a whole night of mine wasted. An entire night wasted. Just waste all around. I got that bed before sick people. Like, I was such a waste of time. Such a waste of time. I hate it. I felt bad the whole time, and I knew I was fine. I just knew it. And then, so of course, he goes, so he's just typing on his little computer, making small talk after that. And he's like, so how'd you shock yourself was your dog? He just says, how'd you shock yourself? And I say, dog call. He says, oh, was your dog barking or something? And then I go, okay, at least he doesn't know the story. So I feel better telling him, because it's on my own will, you know? The nurses aren't telling each other. I actually get to tell him myself. So then I tell him the YouTube story. He just like, whoa, how many YouTube subscribers you got? He was more impressed. I was like, hell yeah, he's impressed. I was like, oh yeah, I actually passed 55K subscribers while I was in the waiting room, which was true. He was like, oh no way. He actually asked a lot of questions. He was very interested. So after that, he was like, all right, we're gonna let you go. And then I say, I need a ride home. I don't know how to get home. Car's not here. Phone's dead. And he says, okay, we actually have a taxi program. I was like, awesome. They have a whole program about that. So he leaves. Oh, by the way, I asked him, so what's the abdominal pain? He says, oh, you shocked yourself, so your tummy hurts. There's no story to it. That's what I thought. What I thought the whole time was the truth. Anyway, so he leaves. The nurse who originally showed me my room comes back. And she was like, okay, you're free to go. And she gives me paperwork. She's like, oh, you have an IV in your arm. The IV that was never used, by the way. I had a needle in my arm for like 8 hours. Sucked. So she's like, let me get rid of that. She leaves, comes back. I sign the papers. And She every single time you get something done in the hospital, they're like, okay, we're gonna, it's gonna be a little wet right here. We're gonna dab it up. We're gonna put the needle in. We're gonna put the paper on. They walk you through everything so you don't freak out. But this girl, like I said earlier, I think she just wanted to go home. She literally just grabs it, rips it off, no warning. It hurt a lot actually. But I mostly jumped because I didn't expect it. She's like, oh, that's all right. She did not care. She was a peach. So she ripped it off again just as hard, the other piece of tape. And then she takes the needle out, bandages it up. And I'm like, all right, how do I get that taxi program? I just say, I need a taxi, and how do I get out of here? So she's like, oh, yeah, so they can call a taxi for you at the at the entrance. I was like, how do I get there? She said, okay, so you take that exit and go left. I'm like, okay. So I see it. Direction's very clear. I go to that exit. I take the left. At that point, there's 2 more ways to go. I just stand there. I'm like, she's not giving me enough directions, man. Then some security guards walk up a second later, so it's fine. They say you lost. I say yes. They bring me to the main building. She needed to give me like 3 more turns, by the way. She was not very clear. By the way, hospital lobby is so nice. It feels like a hotel. The waiting room is so depressing. The lobby has like plants, very comfy couches. Waiting room is dead, boring, nothing. Change that, by the way, hospitals. Change that. That's bizarre. It's bizarre to me. Bizarre. So then security guard goes and talks to the security guard at the start. They say, can you call a taxi? So there's no program. At least they don't know about the program. If there is one, they just call a taxi. They say 30 minutes. I say, okay. I wait for what feels like a while outside. Kind of cold at this point. T-shirts, flip-flops, whatever. A lot of time goes by. I'm just kind of like, how much time's gone by? I have no idea. There's no clocks outside. My phone's dead. So I go back in there and I'm like, oh, what time is it? They say 3:51 a.m. I say, okay, what time did you call the what time did you call for the taxi? Discord, you want to shut up? They look through their little phone logs and go 26. As they're like, look, 26. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, 3:26 has been like not even 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I'm freaking out right now. I'm just, time's going by at a weird rate because it's been so long. And she goes 2:26. So basically, what that means, I literally go, what? I waited over an hour and 20 minutes before checking in. I had no concept of time, apparently. So then I literally go, what? She's like, yeah, if they don't come soon, we'll call back in to check. And I just say, can I use the bathroom? Just like that. And then the whole time in the bathroom, I'm thinking, like, what she said. She's like, if they don't come in soon, we'll call. It's already been an hour and 20 minutes. What do you mean soon? What's soon to you? It's supposed to come in 30 minutes. So I go to the bathroom. I go back, sit outside. Dude, if that bench outside was comfortable, I would have fallen asleep. I was so tired. So then another 30 minutes go by, and the car finally comes, and I go in there, and I'm just like, bro. And then, so, of course, they ask me, what you're in there for? This time, I say, electrical shock. They ain't getting the dog collar thing out of me. By the way, I almost forgot. While I was waiting for the taxi, guess who I saw leave the building? I saw that kid from the very beginning of the story who had that face, owies, and was about to pass out, said, doctor, please help me. I saw him leave the main building okay. He was being pushed in a wheelchair. The parents were there. He walked in the car just fine. So we have a good resolution there. I really wanted to mention that. It was crazy. It came full circle that way. Anyway. So I'm in the taxi now. And I say I was in there for electrical shock. In the ER for electrical shock. I wanted to leave it at that. And they're like, oh, did you get, like, how'd that happen? So I'm like, I'll just explain it. Dog collar. By this time, I don't mention YouTube. They try to make small talk. I really wasn't having it. I was giving bad replies. I was tired. And we drive like a couple minutes down the road. Then out of nowhere, I'm like, I know exactly where we are. And then I realized I could have walked home in 30 minutes. I could have knocked off 2 hours of this experience and walked home. The problem is I admittedly don't know my area super well, so I had no idea where this hospital was. I could have asked, I guess, but I just was like, oh, taxi coming in 30 minutes, no big deal. And then just had no concept of time after that. But if I knew that would happen, I would have asked where we were. And if they gave me literally 2 turns to take, I would have known exactly where I was and could have walked home so easily. But I didn't. So, we go back to the walking care where my car is parked. I have a debit card to pay on. She hands me the phone. It basically says, "Do you want to put a tip in?" No tip. 2 hours late. Fuck you. Like, what do you mean asking for a tip? Out of here. So, hop in the car. I go back home. I see daylight. It's like 4:30 a.m. I take off those EKG sticky things. Eat a little bit of food. Pass out. Woke up at 2 p.m. today. It's actually 4:20 p.m. right now, funny enough. My stomach kind of hurts, but it's a little better for sure. And at this point, I'm like, wow, I'm glad I wasted all that time because the nurses were wrong at the walk-in care. And it's sitting in today how much I'm going to be billed for that whole experience because I had stomach ache. Like, I don't blame myself for going to the walk-in care to begin with. Rather be safe than sorry. My gut was always telling me I didn't need to go, but I wanted to make sure. So I don't regret going in. I don't regret the dog collar stream. Don't try it at home, honestly, though. It's not worth it. It was fun for me, though. I'm not gonna lie. I had a good stream. I want you guys to watch the stream and enjoy it. When the highlight video comes out, I want you guys to enjoy the highlight video, by the way. Don't feel bad. Laugh at my pain. I think it's really funny. I want you to laugh at my pain. But the dog collar, I felt like was worth it. So I don't regret it. I don't even regret going to the walk-in care. In retrospect, I guess I do because of all what happened after that. But I'm glad I was safe over sorry. But man, and then just so much weirdness after that. So much not professionalism. And I'm going to be charged probably like a few thousand for the whole thing. It's ridiculous. So I'll link the stream. Wait for the highlight video if you want. At the end of the day, I guess screw American healthcare is what we can take away from the video.